Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight for the fourth webinar of the 2023 Master Beef Producer Webinar Series. We're really excited that you're here with us. And tonight we have a really exciting group of or pair of people that we're talking to. We're going to hear from them about trends in the beef industry. And so I think this will give folks a little bit of a different perspective. We're a lot of times thinking about production topics, but I think it's always important for us to understand our consumer and know where that beef is going and what they expect. And so I'm really excited to hear from Valerie Bass and from Emily Haskew tonight about their work and about the trends that they've seen in the beef industry. Just really quick, I want to give a couple of reminders or housekeeping notes. You will have access to the Q&A box. And so throughout the presentation or at the end, when you have a question, feel free to drop that into the Q&A box and we will answer those questions at the end of the presentation. Just by being logged in tonight, your attendance is already recorded. So there's no need for you to let me know that you're here. We pull those attendance reports just by you being online. So that's taken care of. All you need to put in is if you have any questions for us. So we're really excited to get kicked off. I'm sure a few more people will join us here in the next few minutes, but just to keep us on time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Valerie and Emily.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We are very excited to be with you today and give you a little bit of information about your beef checkoff and the important work that it does kind of behind the scenes so you guys can raise cattle and raise a wholesome product for our consumers. But we wanted to tell you a little bit about how our board is made up, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Let's see here. There we go. All right. Well, first of all, I'm Valerie Bass, and we have with us also Emily Haskew. She is our Director of Marketing and Communications, and I'm the Executive Director. If I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, I would love to sometime if we're ever in the same area at a cattlemen's meeting or convention or whatever. Please come and introduce yourself. I'd love to meet you. I always enjoy meeting the cattle producers that pay into the beef checkoff program, so I can make sure if you have any questions that we can try to answer those for you. We work out of Murfreesboro. We have an office here. We operate statewide. We have a board of directors, and I'm going to go over some of those things with you as we get into the presentation. The first part that we're going to go over is just kind of the structure and what the checkoff program actually is. Some of you may be unfamiliar with the program. It's been around since the 1985 Farm Bill. And in Tennessee, we have actually two programs that run concurrently. The federal program, the one I spoke of before, it was formed back in 1985 through the Farm Bill. It's a federal program, and it is $1 per head every time a cattle producer sells an animal. And that can be through the livestock market, that can be farmer to farmer, that could even be direct marketing if you direct market beef. Every time you sell an animal to a consumer, if they're going to have it processed, the dollar is to be paid to the beef checkoff. And we can help you out with forms on any of that. If you sell through the livestock market, that's already taken care of. But farmer to farmer or to buyer, if you're not going through a livestock market, those are times when the federal dollar needs to be remitted. The federal program is non-refundable. You pay it on all live animals sold or processed, and there is no production research dollars used. We don't use those dollars for lobbying or any production research. It's all post-mortem research, beef nutrition, how that interacts with human health. So all of those dollars have to be used for research that is not on live animals. On the state side of things, that program is 50 cents per head. That program has been activated through the state legislature and a state vote from cattle producers back in 2012 that enacted the Tennessee Beef Promotion Program. There is a refund available with that if you request it within 90 days. We do have those forms online on tnbeef.org. You can also call our office to request that refund form. But I will let you know that as long as we have been managing this program on the state side since 2012, we have had less than 1% requested refunds. So I feel that's really a testament to the work that we've been doing, and I feel really good about the programs that we've been able to offer. And so anyway, I just wanted to let you know that it is paid on all live cattle sold. If you are a direct marketer, you do not have to pay that 50 cents when you market those animals and sell the beef for your direct marketing program. You do have to pay the dollar on the federal side, but not the additional 50 cents if you are direct marketing. And with those dollars, they do this. They do a lot of the same things that the federal dollar does. They're concentrated on consumer education, promotion, advocacy, industry relations. Some of those dollars can be and are used on production research. And as with both programs, none of those dollars can be used for lobbying or influencing government actions. So just a little note here about who pays the checkoff. I kind of went over that pretty much earlier in the slide, but we do have a handout there on the right side of your screen that just kind of goes through it. Beef producers, dairy producers, anybody who sells an animal is responsible to pay the beef checkoff. And then we get into the producer that is selling beef, or the direct marketer, and that can be either to a consumer or to a retailer or a food service operator. On the federal side of things, that dollar needs to be remitted if you are selling your beef in any of those different locations. We do have the forms for those and can help you get on board with the program. We have a board of directors. We meet quarterly, and here are a few of our directors you can see pictured there. We have representatives from the Tennessee Cattlemen's Association, the Tennessee Farm Bureau Association, Tennessee Livestock Markets, Tennessee Beef Cattle Improvement, and the Tennessee Dairy Association. So, and then we have ex officio advisors. Dr. Mason sits on our board. We also have a representative from the Department of Agriculture. That position isn't filled right this moment, but it will be soon. Wendy Sneed had held that position for a while, and she's changed paths right now. So we're waiting on someone to fill that position. We also have our past chairman, who is also our Region 2 vice chairman for the Federation, and that's Russ Uspleton. And our Cattlemen's Beef Board representatives, these are both national offices or national appointments by the USDA Secretary of Agriculture, Celeste Blackburn and Gary Daniel. And our staff includes myself, Carly Cox, Emily Haskew, and Kaylee King. So just a little bit, those are a few things about the structure of the program, and we wanted to get into the consumer behaviors and trends in the beef industry. So you can see here, we do a lot of consumer research with checkoff dollars. And actually, research is the cornerstone of the entire program. We depend a lot on national dollars. And one thing that you need to know is that when you pay that dollar into the marketing program, the beef checkoff program, Tennessee is able to keep 50 cents of that dollar in state for our Tennessee consumers. And then we send the other 50 cents of that federal dollar onto the Cattlemen's Beef Board, where it's combined with all of the other state dollars, and we use that for national marketing programs, national research that we all use together. So it really magnifies the impact of the dollar that you invest into the program. And one of those ways is through consumer research. It helps us to know who our consumer is. It helps us to know their buying patterns, their habits, their questions, their concerns, and what affects their purchasing. So we can make sure that we're meeting those needs and answering any questions they may have. So here are some of the different demand drivers: consumption, preference, and value. The 5 specific drivers that drive our beef consumers' purchases support all of those different drivers there. They are eating experience, convenience and versatility, price, how the animal is raised or grown, and the nutritional value. Consumers use each of those different pillars to make decisions when they are purchasing our product. Now, primarily, our consumer is female with a family. You know, that has changed over the years. It was really specifically the female in the family making those decisions, but there are a lot of families that are where the dad of the family is making those decisions. There's a lot more. We've kind of gotten away from targeting just the mom. We really try to focus on the person who is enjoying our product the most, and those who have concerns about our product, so we can address those. And those kind of fit into our nutrition pillar, and we'll go over some of those as we move along. Now, as far as consumption goes, we have a lot of different ways that we look at that. The majority of consumers eat beef and chicken at least once a week, and there's a little breakdown there you can see. We also track meat alternatives, and that could be beef, chicken, pork, you know, all of the different alternatives there are to different animal proteins. So if we just kind of take that out of the mix, that 27% out of the mix for just a moment, you can see here that beef, chicken, pork, and fish make up the majority of what consumers eat, with chicken at 81%, beef at 69%, pork and fish in 47 and 43%. And this is what consumers are eating about weekly, or maybe a little more than weekly. Now, as far as the meat alternatives, that 27% looks really big, but I want you to know that just because the consumer is eating a meat alternative, they are also still consuming, or a majority of them are also still consuming beef, chicken, pork, and fish. So an animal protein. So that 27 number, it's not quite as big there as you might interpret it to be, without knowing that they may not eat meat once a week, but then the other parts of the week they are eating meat. So just to kind of clarify that a little bit. Oops, let's see if I can, I don't know if I can, how to go back here. Okay. And just to put the meat substitute discussion in perspective, if you look on the left-hand side of your screen, the pie chart there, the animal protein versus substitutes is 3%. Substitutes make up 3% of that market share. So 99.7% of folks are eating protein, animal protein. And regarding fresh beef or beef substitutes, you can see there that 0.5% is a beef substitute. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have our eye on the ball. We do. We watch that very closely. But I did want to give you a little bit of perspective, because sometimes marketing efforts and different reports make it seem like maybe it's more than that 5%. But that is something that we do watch with this consumer market research on a weekly, monthly basis, and we are always tracking what's kind of going on in the marketplace. So know that some of your checkoff dollars are really monitoring that closely. I do want to share with you that we are seeing, and we do estimate that our per capita consumption will probably be a little bit lower in 2023. Of course, we won't know that until the end of the year, but it is projected to be a little bit down this year. As with anything, you can see there from 2000 to 2022, we've had some fluctuations in the market, and some of that is due to drought. What we're probably experiencing right now has a little bit to do with, well, a lot to do with drought, but also a little bit of residual from COVID as well, because we worked through quite a bit of animals at that point. And then we've also just kind of come through a drought in the Midwest where a lot of those animals have gone to market. And we are in a resupply situation right now. So we're seeing producers hold on to animals, and we've just got to build back up. So, and that makes the price higher at retail. So consumers are maybe making some different decisions right now. But everything is cyclical, and we'll see that bounce back some. I do feel like we will. In general, for the last several years, we've seen a 57 per capita, 57 pounds per capita, all the way up to 59 pounds. So, that is something that we do track again, and I do think that that will be something that will bounce back. As far as future consumption, we track a lot of different things. We know that consumers are considering whether or not they're going to eat more or eat less. And I believe we have about 64% of consumers who don't intend on changing any of their buying habits. But the other few percent, 14%, say they plan to eat more beef. Their main reason there is because they enjoy the taste. And then we also have 15% that say they're going to eat less. And you can see there that because the price is too expensive. So we track all of these different things, and that enables us to be a little more nimble in our planning and in the way we reach consumers. So as far as the eating experience of consumers, this is another way we track what consumers are doing. And it's important to us because like I said, we want to make sure that we are where consumers are, and we are addressing their attitudes, their behaviors, their questions, and anticipating what those are going to be. Over 3/4 of meals being cooked at home. That is great. 76% of all meals eaten in the US are eaten at home, and that's up from 2021, about 2 percentage points there. And will you continue to cook more meals at home? 94% of consumers say yes. So in our planning, we want to make sure that we have recipes that are engaging consumers, using cuts that are familiar, or introducing lower price cuts and sharing with them how to prepare those. So all of that information is important to us as we plan. We also know that consumers make their purchases at grocery stores, mass merchandisers, and club stores. So we want to make sure that our advertising is targeted in those ways, that we are making it easy for consumers to see beef in these different locations here. And we have done some very specific things in Tennessee where we're using those checkoff dollars to reach our Tennessee consumers in some of these exact places. 79% of consumers do shop through the grocery store. We are seeing some pattern shifts in our consumer. You can see in this diagram here, we've tracked from 2018 through 2022, and I can guarantee you that this is tracked back into the 1990s as well. But I think that everything would be too small for us to see. So we're just going to focus on these last few years. We are seeing a little bit of shift from using more ground beef and hamburger, and I do think that is because of the cost and the convenience of it, the versatility of that product. It fits into a lot of different flavor profiles. It can go from spaghetti to tacos to breakfast burritos. So it's a very versatile product. So we are watching that, and we're seeing a little bit an uptick there in use of ground beef. We are seeing a lot of consumers moving to online grocery shopping. Now, maybe not 100%, maybe they are using it once a week or once a month, but consumers really got comfortable with online grocery shopping during COVID. And I think there are a lot of things that during that time frame, there was a lot of uncertainty, and we all did a lot of things that we hadn't done before. And I think that we have seen consumers really enjoy the convenience of being able to shop online and go by and pick up their orders. Some of us that are in rural areas may not have that service, but I can tell you here in Murfreesboro, which is not a metropolis by any stretch of the imagination, we definitely use it here in our area. And I have some friends that live in Chicago, and they are very limited on their grocery shopping options as far as just getting around, because many of them don't drive cars, and so they utilize a lot of the grocery delivery. So they're actually will deliver their groceries. And I think some of us here do that too, but that does have a cost with it when picking up your groceries doesn't really have an additional cost to it. And those consumers, with 64% of consumers are actively ordering online. And you can see there on the left-hand side, they're using the grocery store website. I don't know, Kroger's is one that we use here. Publix is one that we use here. You may be familiar with those. Instacart. If you shop with Walmart, I believe they use Instacart, and then Amazon Fresh has really kind of picked up some business as well. I don't know in Tennessee that particular offering is as prominent as it is in maybe some of our more metro areas like Atlanta or Chicago or some of those major metro areas. But I do know that the grocery stores are using around here are using the Instacart and some of their grocery store apps. So this is a targeted promotion that we did with Kroger, I believe here, or no, this may not be with the one with Kroger. I'm sorry, hang on just one second. I kind of got ahead of myself here. Well, hold on just a moment. There we go. Yeah, this wasn't with Kroger. This one was with a national club store. And we have a couple of those different brands in Tennessee. So you can maybe figure out which one it was. But we invested $5,000 in a summer grilling promotion. This was what we call a heavy up with a national buy. NCBA bought national advertising with this club store, and we in Tennessee were covered. We had some stores receiving that, but we added an additional $5,000 to that investment. And what that did was it presented consumers that were shopping online with this national club store with additional ads that featured beef, and they're located right there. Several of the examples are, and then you can click the shop now button and go ahead and put beef in your cart, or shop for beef So it made it super convenient for them to pick up beef. And the biggest exciting thing to me was that our return on investment for that $5,000, it had a return on investment of $187 per dollar spent. So we were definitely being effective with this promotion. This promotion returned more than the national than the national effort did. And there were 13 other states that participated in this heavy up, and we returned the third largest investment, and I believe the first was Texas. I can't remember who the second one was. And then our investment of $5,000 returned the most for our state. And those are Tennesseans purchasing beef. So just an example of how targeted and how much your checkoff dollars help us to target our beef consumer, and in real ways that this is really moving our product. Now, as far as convenience and versatility goes, here. Oh, dang, I'm gonna keep doing that. I am so sorry. We do know that consumers really do enjoy our product. They perceive beef as being better for a lot of variety of meals compared to chicken. It was just several years ago, prior to 2018, where we were seeing chicken on the top of this as being the most versatile. And we always kind of joked a little bit about that, because we always said that, you know, you can put any flavor profile with chicken, you just change the sauce, and then you can, you know, use chicken in a lot of different ways. But we have really been focusing our advertising efforts and our educational efforts on the versatility of beef. And we have really been able to begin to see how consumers are understanding how they can use beef in many different ways. We talked earlier about the taco or the fajita or the breakfast burrito. So we're really trying to showcase beef as not just for dinner, but for lots of different dinner ideas, and then also in different day parts, even breakfast, lunch, and appetizers and snacks. So we're really trying to showcase the versatility of it, and we're making an impact. So we track all of this very, very closely, so we'll know if we're being effective in our efforts. One of the different ways we've been doing this is working with our Beef It's What's for Dinner and our tnbeef.org. Here are a couple of examples of how those particular websites have kind of showcased how beef can fit. We've got a lot of fitness buffs and a lot of folks that use batch cooking for day-to-day things, or if they're fitness folks, they want to be real particular about their proteins and how they're preparing their meals. So we've done a couple of things on how to batch cook with beef, and then also how to use leftovers. Maybe cook once, dine twice, and maybe you would use one flavor profile for one night, and then you would turn it into lasagna the next night, or put it in a beef stew if you prepared a roast. So I thought this was really clever. Leftover, featuring cowboy beef stew. So just some really creative, different ways to use social media to show how beef can be part of different days and used in different ways. And I think it's making a difference with our consumer. So just as far as beef and the volume that we've been selling, I guess, over the last several years, all of the different proteins are have seen a little bit of a dip in pounds sold over the last several years. Like I said, we track all of this, and we want to make sure that we're not, we'd love for beef to be higher, but at least it's not out there on its own, and you know, the directions going a different way just for beef. So as far as proteins go in general, they're all going down just a little bit. So we track that. And then also with inflation and everything else, we have seen the increase in groceries, the increase in beef and chicken and pork, but all of the different proteins are increasing in cost. And I'm sure on your farms, you've had increases in cost as well. So those are all legitimate, and we have seen that, and we are tracking that. We have seen, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, but our consumers are probably moving down a little bit in they're not going to stop eating beef, but maybe they're going to switch around what they're eating. Maybe they're going to eat fewer steaks and maybe a little bit less roast beef, but maybe they're going to eat more ground beef. Down here, we see a shift in what they are planning to eat. So we're tracking pork and fish and chicken along with beef and steaks and roasts and ground beef. So we're making sure that we're not getting left out, and that everything seems to kind of be proportional. Emily, why don't you tell folks about a couple of different things that we've been doing here in Tennessee about encouraging budget-friendly things?
Yeah, so as Valerie kind of mentioned earlier, and you saw some of the data she's kind of presented, we kind of recognize through the consumer research and data that consumers are looking for ways to still incorporate beef in their diet. They're just wanting ways to use it that's effective and easy on their budget. We recognize, inflation, economic constraints are also playing a part in that. So she has some good examples there of some things we've done, but we really made it a priority through social media to kind of educate consumers about budget-friendly cuts, give them some information in terms of, what kind of cut it is, where does it come from, what's a good cooking method for it. If it's a tougher cut, maybe it's leaner, it doesn't have a lot of that nice marbling we like that we might get in a ribeye or a strip, okay, we need to marinate this. And so we're going to educate them on marinating and what that looks like and how to do that. To try to help prepare them the best when, one, they go to the meat counter to pick out a cut, and to two, when they get home, prepare it in a way that will give them a positive eating experience. Because we've learned typically if they get a good cut, maybe the cut's good, but then they get home and the preparation method's maybe not the best, or when they cook it, they don't cook it just right. And it kind of leaves them feeling, well, this wasn't really worth my money, or, maybe I should have done some, bought something different. We want them to have a positive experience from the start. That way they're going to maybe continue to come back and incorporate either that budget cut or just a normal traditional cut you think of for beef into their weekly kind of meal. So we try to utilize like what we have on here, the beef on a budget, just highlight a cut. We change it out, and we do 3 or 4 of these a month, just kind of showing some different ones, cuts that maybe your consumers are seeing in the meat case that they maybe hadn't seen before, because we do see some more of those now. Then we also incorporate it into our quarterly newsletter. We do that just to kind of highlight, as you can see an example of here, just some different cuts, little information about the cuts. We also do this in our monthly cooking class that we do. It's virtual. We do a new recipe. I try to highlight a cut that's maybe a budget cut or a cut that they've never heard of before, to kind of get them kind of hooked in and kind of learning a little bit about cooking and preparation methods to kind of help them feel confident. Because at the end of the day, that's our goal. We want the consumer to feel confident about the product they're buying.
Great, thank you. Now we're going to talk just a little bit about raised and grown. That was one of the pillars that we talked about initially. And what does that actually mean to consumers? Consumers say that 27% of them anyway say that they are familiar with how cattle are raised, but 71% of them also say that how cattle are raised and grown impact their buying decisions. So we want to make sure that they have correct information and factual information. So here are some of the ways that we've been kind of working towards that. In general, consumers do have a positive perception about beef and the way it is raised. 68% of consumers feel like that you know, they have a good idea and they're comfortable with the way cattle are raised. 43% have no concerns, but 29, that's almost 30% of consumers do have a concern about animal welfare. And really, we've dug down into that quite a bit. You can see here all of the different categories that we check, kind of that we check in with them on. Is that, well, you know, are they concerned about the animal's diet? Are they concerned about hormones, the environmental impact, antibiotic usage? You know, you would think maybe those numbers might be a little bit higher, but they're not. They go back to that animal welfare. And what does that really mean to the consumer? Well, basically, it means how the animals are cared for. They want to make sure that they are handled properly, that they are handled with care, and that they are, you know, they graze well, they have enough to eat, they have enough to drink, they have room to roam. So they want to make sure that they're handled properly. And I know it bothers you just like it does us when we see a bad apple that isn't handling an animal properly, and all of a sudden that's front page news or on, you know, primetime TV. It's very disheartening, and you know, we don't like that. We don't like to see that, and we certainly want to make sure that consumers know that that's a bad apple, a bad actor. So that is really what this particular piece means to consumers. It's how the animal is cared for. So one way we kind of highlight that is through sharing with consumers the BQA program. Now, we don't ask them to go through the BQA program, but what we do want them to know is that 85% of all cattle in the U.S. are managed by BQA certified farmers and ranchers. And in Tennessee, I think we're one of the leaders in that. We've got over 24,000 certifications in our state. And so overall, in the U.S., we've got over 500,000 certifications, but we do a really good job through the Cattlemen's Association, through the Extension Service that does an outstanding job of educating and making sure that our cattle producers here in our state are certified. There is a transportation segment of that. There's also a youth segment of that, and that particular one is multi-species, which is great. Then there's also a whole section on calf care, and that's a partnership with dairy and veal and beef. So in some of those states where that is a higher percentage, I guess, of the animals that they raise. But we do share some of those talking points with consumers, and that impacts their thought process about our cattlemen and our cattle's care, especially here in Tennessee. We want them to know that our producers care about the animals that they raise. They care about their well-being, and we share with them how every time Emily and I have the opportunity to speak to a consumer group, we always make sure that they know that we are in contact with our cattlemen on a weekly, daily, maybe not daily, but weekly, monthly basis. And we know many of the producers that are here in our state, and we trust them. And so that's one way that we make sure that we reach consumers with a checkoff message that they don't even really know it's from the checkoff, but that's one of the ways we reach consumers with a positive message. Now, I thought you might find this interesting. In our consumer research, consumers feel like the veterinarian and the farmer and the rancher are the most credible for information about cattle handling. 63% view veterinarians as the top billing there, and 60% view farmers and ranchers as the go-to source, the leading source, the credible source of how they raise their animals. And just a side snippet, every year, and we're actually getting ready to do this in October, but every year for the last 10 or 12, we've been going to Lipscomb and setting up a cattle exhibit there with just one cattle and a beef exhibit right next to it. And their nutrition program actually invites us to come because they are celebrating World Food Day that day on the day that we go. And they always ask us back. They always talk to a cattle producer who's there. Usually it's Gary Daniel, if y'all happen to know Gary. And he is so good with the students. They ask great questions. And we talk about how, they say, where's this animal going to end up? And we say, well, eventually he or she will be processed and be part of the food chain. And we get to talk a little bit about that, but they listen very carefully to what Gary has to say because they value his thoughts, and they listen to how he tells them how he raises his animals. So that's just one little example there. Another project that we've launched last year, I'm going to let Emily tell you a little bit about this, but this is really exciting. And this is one way where we are really focusing on our Tennessee consumer.
Yeah, so we saw some of the data Valerie just kind of used. We took that data and that information and kind of took the knowledge that we had that, okay, consumers really value the opinion of the farmer and the rancher. They're a credible source. But we also knew that, moms do a lot of the buying, and they get kind of nervous when it comes to feeding their children, and they want to make sure they're feeding them the right thing, and they're concerned about animal welfare. So we kind of came up with this series that we unveiled on social media. So we highlighted 8 farm moms from across the state of Tennessee. So they were from each grand division. And they each were in a different sector of the beef industry. So we had Stephanie Barnett was one of them. She and her husband Tom and their family, they own a livestock market. We had one mom, her name was Emmy. They have a dairy up in East Tennessee. We had a few that were direct marketers. So we really kind of went across the board of kind of pulling people and moms who really embodied each part of the beef industry and could really give a voice to each sector. And the goal of it was really to connect urban and suburban moms with moms who are going through the same things they're going through, but they're also raising the food that they're going to pick up at the grocery store when they're getting ready to make spaghetti for spaghetti night. And that's a safe product. And we really just wanted to work on kind of easing their concerns about animal welfare, quality of the product that they're getting in the store when they go to pick it up. So we kind of took all that and we kind of came up with the farm moms, and we just let these moms tell what they do, tell how they raise their animals, how they raise their kids, and kind of let that impact those moms. So we were really targeting moms in Tennessee that were kind of ages 25 to 35. We'll have some outliers there, but for the most part, that was really our key kind of target market that we were trying to hone in on. We wanted to focus on moms who are interested in recipes, lifestyle content, food content, things that were really heavily related to food and the product that producers produce. This series dropped on social media and YouTube on February 22nd. And so basically the way we had it set up is we had a trailer that dropped on February 22nd. And then for 9 weeks after that, we dropped a new video each week. Each week it was a new video, it was a new mom. And we highlighted them and we let them share a little bit about their lives. So not only did the people following along on the series see, well, this is what their video looks like, this is what they've showed them, we actually let them take our Instagram over. They highlighted what they did in a day and kind of got to show them a little more behind the scenes than we even could in that little 1 minute, 10-second clip or whatever. So that was really exciting to see some of that. Ready for the next one? Yeah. So, okay, we've talked a little about it. What is it, what did it do? So in terms of impact, so we, over the course of this whole project, we were meticulously counting data, looking at reach, impressions, engagement across social media, kind of see, do consumers like it? Are we getting traction? Is this working? What kind of impact are we making? And from that on social media, we saw that we had a total campaign impression of 444,463 impressions, which impressions are just the number of times people on Facebook or Instagram saw either a video, one of our posts about one of the moms, our trailer. So that's just kind of the amount of eyes, the amount of times it was shown. And then the campaign had a total reach of 344,985 users. So basically, I'll kind of explain the differentiation between impressions and reach. So impressions is just the number of times it was shown, and then reach is basically kind of putting it into a formula to take out if someone might have been served that content twice. So that's why you kind of see a cut in those numbers. And then for campaign engagement, so that's likes, comments, shares, views. We had ads running. So if they click the link to go to our Farm Mom landing page on our website, that's all kind of tallied in there. And so we had 108,000 in terms of engagement. So that was really nice. And then we also just in terms, we kind of calculated all this up the other day. The average cost on our ads for a link click was 19 cents. And so to kind of give some perspective, I think in total we spent maybe $1,200 over the course of this project, just kind of promoting it on social media. And so just from that amount of money over the course of like 2 months, we reached all kinds of people. And that's a very in line. In fact, it's a little below average of what normally they would cost. So we were pretty excited about that. And then just, we kind of knew that social media was good, but there's a whole sector of moms who probably get their information off of YouTube. That's their primary resource. They go to these YouTube vloggers and they're rating stuff, reviewing stuff, unboxing things. And we really wanted to kind of tap into that market. So we also put through a YouTube advertising campaign, and that just blew our minds, to say the least. So from that, we kind of put a little bit money behind all of our different videos that we'd uploaded of each of the moms, our trailer and our series finale. And from that, over the course from February 22nd to let's just say May 31st, we received 165,000 views. So that's how many people visiting and watching our channel, watching our content that's related to this series. So that's quite a large number. In terms of kind of average cost of what that cost us, it was 6 cents a view. That's not very high to get that many views. So we were pretty excited about that. The lower your average cost is, the better. So we want to see it somewhere in line with that. In terms of total impressions, so that's just the number of times. If you're a YouTube fanatic, like some people are, you'll see a suggestion box at the corner on YouTube that kind of tells you the next upcoming video or recommends something to you. That's considered an impression on YouTube. And we had this served to people 47,000 times. So that was very exciting. Total average watch time was 6,700 hours. So that's quite a lot of watch time that we saw over the course of this project. And then our average video watch time for an individual video was 1:15. So that's a whole video. So we know that pretty much anyone who was watching and viewing those watched the whole individual video. So we know that those were working really well. And then the average watch time on our series finale was about 11 minutes. So it was like a 20-minute almost video. And so they're getting through a little over half of it. So that tells us that they're staying at least long enough to kind of hear the message we're trying to present to them. That, these are moms, they're raising a quality product, and, they're just like you. So that's really exciting. And then after the course of all this, we kind of get our results when we do these type things. And we work with NCBA to set these things up. And so we kind of got some information and feedback from them that our video click-through rate on this project was 7 times higher than the national average for this fiscal year. So not only did we were just trying to do good here for the state, but like we're outperforming the national average. So that tells me and Valerie and our team here that, okay, we're providing content that people are wanting to see. They're connecting with it. They want to see it. It's resonating with them. This is doing its job. So that was really positive for us to kind of get that back. It's helping to kind of guide us maybe with the future of this project and what that looks like. And then our series finale video, which is a long form video. And if you don't know a whole lot about social media and videos and times on videos, we live in a world where people don't have a long attention span. So they like things very quick, minute 30, minute long. And so for a series finale video that's like 20 minutes long and they're getting halfway through it, we're getting an average view rate of 86%. So over half the time people are watching it they're watching it pretty much the whole way through. And so that's really good. Most of the time you get a view rate of that on like a YouTube ad or something like that, where you're just seeing a quick snippet. So that's really exciting for us. And it's really shown us that this campaign and this project is making an impact here in Tennessee with our Tennessee moms. And then for this one, we just kind of wanted to show too, like, we kind of talk about it in terms of YouTube, but we also can track it on the back end through our website. So this is, our website houses all of our recipes, our information about how beef is raised. So it's a resource for consumers. It also has cooking methods, things like that. Just a true educational tool is really what our website is. And so we were able to track, we kind of went back and we pulled the data. So you'll see an uptick right before the beginning of March. That was when we first launched our first video. So it's February 22nd. And so from then to May 31st, we see a steady kind of, it ebbs and flows, but for the most part, like, we have consistent traffic and it's driving a high number of people there to our website that we would not have had before if it hadn't have been for this project. And we can also see too, you know, down here on the graph that it shows 80, is it 89 or 86? Maybe it's 88, but 80% or more of the people coming to our website during this time were new users, had never heard of Tennessee beef, maybe had never even visited our website. So that's really exciting. That's new eyes on kind of our website, our resources that, you know, our checkoff dollars fund. So it's really good to see that. And then we also pulled the numbers that showed that 70% of the website traffic during this time came from that social media campaign I talked about on the last slide. So it really did make an impact on driving traffic and getting people to not only just look at the farm moms, but look at kind of what we're doing as a whole. So it's really exciting.
And this is, I think, one of our last sections, but it's nutrition. So we're going to talk a little bit about how nutrition plays a part in consumer decisions. So consumers generally perceive chicken as a healthier choice. It still has that halo. We call it the chicken halo. It can do no wrong. So, but the good news is that if you look back over here from 2018, that spread was, you know, greater than it is now, and it has had a little bit more narrowing in 2020, and you can kind of track it all the way through, and it's a little bit higher now. But the big news there is that we are making an impact, and we are making some headway into you know, maybe tilting the crown just a little bit, tilting the halo. So and really what that means is we're just getting consumers to understand the healthful benefits of beef, and that they that it can be used in a healthy diet, and we have a lot of research to back that up, and just sharing those resources with consumers is making an impact on their perception of the nutritional value of beef. So here is a little slide here. It's got a lot of graphic information on it, but I'm going to try to go through this a little bit here. As far as consumers' perception of nutritional value, you can see there that over time we have made a great impact on how consumers perceive the nutritional benefits of beef, and actually crossing over there in the middle and having a greater impact of them actually seeing how beef's nutritional package is even greater than chicken's nutritional package. And if you look at them side by side, 3-ounce portion versus 3-ounce portion, the nutrients are definitely heavy for beef, and helping our healthcare folks understand that, doctors, dietitians, people that are influencers or speaking with clients about beef nutrition, about nutrition in general, having them understand the nutritional value of beef, and that We have over 29 lean cuts of beef that are designated lean through USDA. They're not just the beef industry saying, hey, we've got lean cuts. These are certified by the American Heart Association and USDA under their labels for lean. And when doctors and dietitians and health professionals begin to understand that, which you can see here, we are getting that message out. They are more apt to and feel more confident in recommending beef as part of a healthy diet when they're consulting with clients. There again, with the protein of beef, we have really hit a home run over the last several years with highlighting beef's protein profile. Using beef as a recovery food for fitness folks. Also, in the older population, that is one of the things that helps build muscle and maintain muscle mass. So protein, having a high protein diet helps our aging population, as well as it is a fantastic protein source, a fantastic healthy source. Also in weight loss, high protein weight loss diets are very popular and work. So having beef as part of a high protein recovery plan, elderly, helping them to maintain health and muscle mass, and also weight loss is great, having it be a part of a weight loss plan. So beef has really fit well into those type of health situations, and we are making headway nationally. And in Tennessee, we've been able to be a part of several different national programs, as well as done some state things on our own as well to educate our health professionals. One of the ways we've extended a national effort, we've got several different ones, but this particular one is one of our most recent ones. This was developed by NCBA, their nutrition department, and it was something that is called Strong Minds and Strong Bodies, and it was focused on pediatricians across the nation, and Tennessee heavied up on this and provided these kits to different pediatricians across our metro areas, focusing in Memphis, Nashville, and Knoxville. And we provided quite a few pediatrician offices with these kits that they could in turn use the documents, use the information with their clients when they're talking about healthy diets and using beef as part of those nutrient dense diet plans with our young people. And then I'm going to ask Emily to go over these couple of other projects that we did in Tennessee.
Yeah. So like Valerie mentioned, we really try to highlight, and touch on how beef's good in a diet previously, with just our consumers, but we also do it with our nutritionists and our dietitians and our pediatricians. So we really put a lot of emphasis, especially this past year, on working with our nutritionists and our registered dietitians. So back in March, we were able to utilize the NCBA partnership that we have to get a vetted speaker and sponsor that speaker for our Tennessee TAND conference, which is Tennessee Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. So we were able to work with NCBA to find a speaker who was vetted, who knew about the beef industry, beef and a healthy diet, beef and the environment and how that works. So our speaker that we were able to pull for that was Marion Smith Edge. Marion Ann actually has a background in dietetics. She worked in public health and nutrition, but she was also she's a cattle farmer. So she really had not only the ag background, but the nutrition background. So she was able to come in and kind of talk a little bit about beef, the environment. She even was able to touch on a little bit about beef and meat alternatives and the comparison between the two. She was received really well from that conference, which was great. And then not only were we able to reach nutritionists that were already practicing clinic nutritionists or had their own business or whatever, we were also able to talk and kind of hopefully impact future nutritionists, because there was a lot of students there who were presenting some of their projects, graduate students and undergraduate. So we're kind of not only touching who is already working, but we're also trying to impact the future. And going along on that vein of working and kind of impacting future nutritionists and dietitians, we also were able to work with Lipscomb University, their nutrition and dietetics graduate students. We had some teachers from there reach out to Valerie, kind of wanting to see if maybe we could set up a kind of a tour, let them kind of come out to a farm, speak with a farmer, learn a little bit about beef, how it's raised, ask those, heavy hitting questions that me and Valerie can talk about, but they really want to hear from a producer. So we had 20 people, undergraduate student or graduate students from Lipscomb come to Mark Barker's farm in Reedyville, so right here close by our office. They learned about beef cattle production, how that impacts the beef we end up eating in the grocery store, kind of touched on beef quality assurance. They got to talk about vaccines, antibiotics. Mark was able to answer all those questions. He did a fabulous job. And they really felt comfortable to ask questions, which was really important to really get a good dialogue going there. And so we had them there, we brought them back, we fed them a nice steak salad, and we talked with them after, and we could really tell that visit, just in that short amount of time, we were maybe there an hour and a half, 2 hours, really impacted them. So that was really positive to us. And so we hope to continue doing things like this.
And those are our future health professionals that will, work with clients in our state and maybe other places too, but it's good. I just wanted to also draw your attention to beefitswhatsfordinner.com and beef.org. These are your websites. This is your brand. And if you have questions about beef, or if maybe you get questions in your community about beef, you don't know the answer, you can go to either one of these sites and pretty much find the answer. If it's something specific, you are more than welcome to call our office, even if it's a general question. But if there is something about recipes, cooking, nutrition, raising beef, there are videos that live on these different websites where you can, send folks to, or just let them know if they have a question about a beef cut. Maybe they ask you about and you don't know, you can send them here to Beef It's What's for Dinner, and they can find that information on their own. We want you to know about this, and your homework for today or for this week is, if you have not visited beefitswhatsfordinner.com or tnbeef.org, that's your homework. You need to visit those sites and just be familiar with what some of what your checkoff dollars are doing. Those sites reach consumers every day and try to showcase beef in its best light. And we appreciate the interest that you have. And I believe that's about it that Emily and I have for you today. We are happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm always really impressed by the reach that you all have, and really just grateful for the work you do and the resources that you provide for the producers across Tennessee. Really excited to see the work that the checkoff dollars are doing. So we do have a few questions here and some really good ones that I've read through. So I'm gonna read these out and let you answer them and try to relate them back to where they were asked during the presentation. So there was a question here about herd share, and I think that was maybe talking about in the checkoff dollar collection, maybe how that works, and then kind of tagging along with that, how is that $1 collected? Is it by the processor, or is there another way?
Those are very good questions. Okay, herd share. I think you are talking about what happens if two people own the animal. Is that what we're talking about?
I think so. And this person may need to clarify if we don't answer their question, but we'll go ahead and approach it that way, and then they can type back in if we don't get it.
If that is the case, I mean, that may just be something that you have to work out with your neighbor or whomever is, however y'all decide to do it. If 3 people own it, maybe, y'all decide I'm going to pay this dollar and that dollar and the other dollar. You just divide it up at the end. You know, I'm not exactly sure. I think if you're selling a herd, or if you're selling multiple animals, the way to do that would be to, equally divide that and, ask one person to submit it. I don't think there is a way to actually divide out that dollar. If that's kind of what we're talking about, there's not a way to divide it out and have everybody pay a third or a half or whatever. It has to be paid as a whole. And so that would be something that the producer would have to figure out. And then what was the other one?
How is the dollar collected? They asked if it was by the processor.
Yes. Well, it would be great if the processor collected the dollar, but at this point right now, we don't have that in place. We do have forms. We have sent forms to all of the processors that they can share with clients that use them. However, if those aren't available, you can request them from us and we can send you a packet of however many you need. We also have a program where if you're selling, say you're selling 5 animals a month, you can report that monthly. If you're selling 1 animal, or 5 animals a year, maybe we can put you on our annual reporting form or annual letter. So in January, usually we send out a letter and it has forms in it as well. And we just say, while you're doing your taxes, while you're kind of getting ready for the year end, if you've sold cattle, here's a form, you can report them so it's not so cumbersome. If you're selling, a few animals here and there, that might be something that would be beneficial to you. We try to make it as easy as possible, and we appreciate the investment very much.
And one plug I'd like to make about forms, if you don't want to fool with calling us and asking us, if you go to the Cattleman's Corner on our website, or I think even at the bottom in the footer, there's a link to just like check off forms, where you can access those forms and download them and mail them in as well still.
All right, great. That's really good to know. The next question here, and this refers back to a part in the presentation as well, asking about a promotion. Was it specifically pushing Tennessee beef products or beef products, I guess, as a whole? And so I think maybe Valerie, you mentioned, I'm not sure if it was the Kroger promotion or which one, but I think that's what that's referring to.
Yes, our checkoff, our federal checkoff definitely is a commodity beef product. We by mandated, we're not supposed to be necessarily brand specific, so it is commodity product. So yes, a generic commodity product for our grocery stores. And on the direct marketing, we try very hard to we want to be helpful to all of our direct marketers, and we want to provide them Beef It's What's for Dinner support material that they can use with their clients. But it is hard for us to work directly with a direct marketer and promote their brand, I guess is what I'm trying to say. We try not to promote brand specific, but we want to make sure that you have access to all of this information to use with your clients. We do have on our website a link, and Emily might be able to talk about this just a little bit better than I can, about the site where producers can be listed on there. Can you mention that just a second?
Yeah, so in the I believe it's the Cattleman's Corner. I can look it up real quick, but we do have a section where if you want to be a part of our directory and you want to have your, your direct marketing, you want to have your brand listed and you want to be found, you can request to be a part of our directory. And we're glad to put you on there for sure for that. And then we also, if you want those resources, if you have a storefront or whatever, and you want to have some checkoff, information and cooking, cut cards, whatever, we have a form at the bottom of our website. And it's just a direct marketer materials request form. If you fill that out, it comes straight to me here in the office, and we will happy to mail that out for you as well.
Very good. I think that sort of addressed one of the questions about how you all can help local producers. And so providing those resources, I think, is a really good way to do that. So our next question is, how can we as producers better demonstrate to consumers our program policies regarding animal welfare?
Great question. I think one thing that we would love for you to do is, if you are, I don't know if you're online or not, but if you are, when you see checkoff related information, and this is a little bit of a double-edged sword here, so I'm gonna say one thing and then I'm gonna say another thing. If you see some checkoff information that talks about animal handling, if you can share that on your social media channels, that would be great. We also have handouts, brochures, some different assets that if you would just like something in your pocket to share with somebody, we can provide that. But one of the biggest things is to share the animal welfare or animal handling information that is posted on our website. If you share that in your community, on your channels, on your social media, that's helpful. The other thing is that be careful about sharing things that are controversial, I guess. We did have a situation several months ago where there was something that was circulating and everybody was upset about it, but they kept sharing it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you keep sharing information that is misinformation or industry detrimental, that just magnifies that message. So think twice about sharing something that maybe you disagree with, but don't put it out there again for somebody, for it to be circulated somewhere else. So just think about that when you're kind of looking at what you're doing on social media. So little double-edged sword there.
Yeah. And then I would say too, to go along with that, we're always doing what I like to call Beef Fact Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about animal welfare, we're talking about cooking, we're talking about, meat, we're talking about it all. So, if you're ever like, I need something to post, or there's something going on, if it's a hot button issue, or if it's something that's pretty prominent, we're probably going to have something about it. And we would love for people to kind of share that and get that out there. I would also recommend that if you're on the internet and you're sharing regularly and you want to share a little bit about like how you take care of your animals, and I'm going to feed, do you want to go feed with me? Or, we're vaccinating today, here's why we're vaccinating, and you want to share stuff like that, that's great. We would love to do a lot of that stuff, but there's only so many of us, so it's hard. So I would also recommend that as well, just kind of sharing your own story. That really resonates as well too.
Yeah. Make sure you're doing it properly.
Yes.
That's right.
Right.
Use social media judiciously, right? But it's a really, really good tool, and something we're all going to have to get better at, I think, because it's certainly not going away, and we're going to have to learn to communicate that way. So as we start to wrap up, I don't want to take too much time on questions. I'm going to kind of summarize a few questions that have come in about social media and promotion. Mm-hmm. Any hashtags that you use to expand your impressions? Emily, I don't know if you might want to drop those in the chat so people can see those hashtags that they can use. Yeah. And then if you have a link to the Farm Mom series, which I'm sure is on the website, and maybe a direct link to that so that folks can use that in their own promotions when they're out and about. And then have you thought about collaboration with any influencers, a personal trainer, influencers across the state, a cook, or anything like that?
Oh, that's a great question. We actually do work with a lot of different influencers. I actually have been working with an influencer today who really big in the health and fitness world, nutrition world. So we're always utilizing them. because they give us an even greater reach to a world of people who don't even probably know who we are. So we utilize them a lot. We also utilize people in the lifestyle world. We do find that people of, I'm 25, and people of my age group and age range, they really are all about experiences. So we try to get those people who are influencers or who are doing all the cool experiences and going to the cool restaurants. We try to utilize them to kind of reach them, that younger demographic as well. So we really look at kind of what does our consumer profiles look for, and then we hone in on people in Tennessee specifically to kind of reach those people in a better way than we could. So yeah, we do utilize that a lot.
Yeah, and I also would encourage you all to visit. Remind me, how is your Facebook page titled? Is it Tennessee Beef Industry Council, or is it?
Yes, so our Facebook is Tennessee Beef Industry Council, and then if you go to our Instagram, it's at TN Beef.
Okay,
and I can put that in the chat too if you want me to.
Yeah. If you want to drop those in the chat so folks can see them and get on there, that'll give folks an idea of some of these things that you're sharing out there, and it's really good information to follow. And then the last question here that I can take a shot at real quick. We have a new farmer that wants to know what BQA is and how do they get certified. So just to share that for everybody, BQA is the Beef Quality Assurance Program. It essentially sets a national standard for how cattlemen handle their animals, how they have their facilities set up, how they administer vaccines and medications. And so it sets that standard or a bar for our producers to follow and say, hey, I'm doing these best management practices to ensure the quality of the beef product and also ensure the welfare of the animal. And so how you can get certified, we can, there are a lot of in-person programs through your extension office or through the cattlemen's associations. There's also an online option. So if you go to the Tennessee Cattlemen's website, they have the option to buy that online version. And so if you just Google search Tennessee Beef Quality Assurance, you'll find links to either the Cattlemen's page, or even I think the Tennessee Department of Ag has a way to get it there and shows you how to get that online certification if you want to do it similar to this rather than going to an in-person class. So if you have any questions about how to do that after tonight, certainly reach out to your county agent and they can help you find a BQA opportunity to get certified. It's a really kind of easy thing to do and really has a lot of credit behind it because it's a nationwide program and a lot of people see value in that. So with that, we're going to wrap up. We're getting pretty late here. I really appreciate y'all's time tonight sharing this information. I think it was a good, fresh perspective that we don't typically get in Master Beef. So really, really appreciate that. And we will see all of you folks next Tuesday for our next webinar. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.